Good morning, everybody. It is 10:30 a.m. and I'm calling this regular meeting of the zoning administrator to order. Looking at the March 20th, 2025 draft minutes. Public comment, please.
If there's anybody attending in person who would like to make a public comment on the draft minutes, please raise your hand. Okay, just a moment. Set up the.
Just to confirm, you'd like to make comments on the draft minutes of the March 20th, 2025 meeting?
I don't know about the 2025 meeting. All I know is about the cell tower concerns that I.
Yeah, so we'll take public
I don't
comment.
have one of these and I never got a letter, even though I am a
We'll take
resident.
public comments on the telecommunications item when we have that item.
Okay,
Right now, we're
that's
taking
what
public
I'm-
comments on the draft minutes for the March 20th, 2025 meeting.
Okay, if I got a letter, I would have
Thank you.
known. Thank you.
Looks like there's no public comment.
Okay, thank you. I'll close public comment on the draft minutes and approve those as submitted. Item 3, non-agenda public comment. This is a time for public comments for items that are not on today's agenda, but are within the purview of the zoning administrator. So if you'd like to make public comments on any item that is not being presented today, now is your time to do so.
If you'd like to make a public comment on non-agenda items, please raise your hand. Zoning administrator, we do not have a public comment.
Thank you. I will close public comment on non-agenda items. Moving on to the zoning administrator's statement of purpose. The zoning administrator is appointed by the Planning and Economic Development Director and has the responsibility and authority to conduct public meetings and hearings and to act on applications for minor or reduced review authority projects or entitlements. A determination or decision by the zoning administrator may be appealed to the Design Review Board, Cultural Heritage Board, Planning Commission, or City Council as applicable to the decision. All actions taken by the zoning administrator may be appealed within 10 calendar days. If the final day of the appeal period falls on a non-business day, the appeal period will be extended to the next business day. Moving on to consent items, we have none. So we will move on to the first scheduled item, which is a public meeting for design review at the Blend Tech building expansion. Do we have a staff report?
So. Good morning, and thank you for the introduction. Zone Administrator McKay. And the project in front of you today is Blend Tech expansion located at 2899 Dow Drive. The applicant is proposing an addition to the rear elevation of the existing property, and no increase of use is proposed. Here's an area view of where the project will be located, and the blue box indicates where the project is. And surrounding the project is commercial uses, mostly commercial uses, and to the west, an industrial use. General plan land use designation is light industry, which is intended for manufacturing and industrial uses. And this land use designation is consistent with the zoning land use designation, which is light industry. And this designation implements the zoning district for general plan. And here's the site plan. Oh, here's the site plan of the site. And to your top right is an area view. And if you can see my cursor, the addition is going to go to the left side of the building. And if you look at the middle of the screen, the yellow box indicates where the addition is going to be added. And again, this is at the rear of the facility near closest elevation to the smart tracks. Here are the elevations, the north, south, and west and east elevations of the project. And the yellow lines indicate where the addition is going to be. And the addition will match the existing colors of the existing facility that's there. And this project has been reviewed in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. And is categorically exempt because the project involves minor modifications to an existing facility. And at this time, there are no unresolved issues. No public comments have been received. Staff analysis has concluded that all findings can be met, and the applicant has reviewed and accepted all conditions of approval. Thus, it is recommended by the Planning and Economic Development Department that the zoning administrator approve a design review to allow an addition at 2899 Dow Drive. My contact information is at the bottom left of the screen if you have any questions. Thank you. Questions or concerns?
Thank you. Is the applicant present? And if so, do they wish to make any comments or presentation?
The applicant is present, is along with the CEO of Blendtec, the CFO, COO of Blendtec. And we just want to acknowledge that the process has meticulously been conducted by the city planner. And he's been very express and clear on the steps to be taken. And we're delighted to do them. So we're ready to proceed.
Great, thank you. With that, I'll open the public comment.
If you're attending in person, would like to make a public comment on this item, please raise your hand. Zoning administrator, there are no public comments.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the planner for the presentation. Yeah, the design looks good. It seems like a relatively straightforward expansion of an existing use with using existing materials and colors compatible with industrial area. So I'll approve the project. Please note this decision is final unless an appeal is filed at the city clerk's office within 10 calendar days of today's decision pursuant to the zoning code. For this item, that date is Monday, April 14th, 2025. Moving on to item 2, public meeting design review to add antennas to an existing telecommunication facility at 1350 Bennett Valley Road.
All right, thank you for your patience. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lana Michelson. I'm the project planner. Sorry.
Are you Hannah?
I am Hannah, yes. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm the project planner for the AT&T wireless telecommunications facility. The project address is 1350 Bennett Valley Road, and this is minor design review, file number DR25007. The project is a minor design review for a co-location of 12 new panel antennas on an existing cell tower, monopine, with no increase in tower height. And additionally, there's a 20 by 20, 400 square foot expansion of the existing wooden fenced equipment enclosure, otherwise known as a lease area. In that lease area, there will be the installation of a 30 kilowatt diesel generator with a 190 gallon fuel tank on a new 5 by 10 concrete pad. And I just want to note that per the zoning code, section 20-44060D, co-location of new transmission equipment on an existing legally established telecommunications facility is subject to minor design review only, consistent with the requirements of section 6409 of the federal government's Middle Class Tax Relief and Job Creation Act of 2012. All right, so the general plan and zoning, the site is in blue with the star. The zoning and general plan land use designation is public institutional. This allows for the clustering of public facilities such as hospitals, schools, or in this case, this is the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. And this is the general plan land use designation is consistent with the zoning designation. Here is the fairground site. This particular parcel is 81 acres. It's bordered To the north by Highway 12, Bennett Valley Road. To the west, it's existing low and medium density residential as well as Martin Luther King Park. To the south, you have additional parking, some other, Sonoma County owned facilities, and a sliver of medium residential developed. And then to the east, you have sort of additional overflow, more Sonoma County facilities. And where the yellow star is on the south there, that's where the project site is. So it's really south, it's southeast.
That's where the what site is?
The project site,
Project site.
and I'll zoom in on the subsequent slides for you guys. All right, here's the project location. So you can see it's in yellow, in the yellow circle. It's about 200 feet from Aston Avenue, and accessible by an existing concrete road. It's surrounded by developed buildings. And then here's a further zoom in. This shows the existing cell tower, which has 800 square feet of lease area and 75 foot monopine. It's served by existing roads and utilities. Okay, so this is the site plan. I'm gonna use little colors here for you guys. So blue, that's the current lease area, which is 400 square feet. The second square is the cell phone tower area, and that's the 75-foot monopine. And then in yellow, this is what's proposed, this expansion. The new lease area will match the existing 6-foot wooden fence with additional 2-foot lattice, which shields it from the public view. Here is photo simulations. This is a view from Aston Avenue. On the left, you have the existing installation. On the right, you have the proposed AT&T installation. The red circles is where the additional 12 antennas will go, and you can see it's a little denser in that picture. Again, this is looking from Bennett Valley Road, and the circle, you can just make out that the cell phone tower from that, and that's where the installation is. Again, this is the existing cell phone tower. Environmental review. The project has been reviewed in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act, known as CEQA. It is categorically exempt because it involves minor changes to an existing structure. It's also statutorily exempt because it's consistent with the general plan. There are no unresolved issues as a result of staff review. At the time of this presentation, I had not received public comments, but I have subsequently received 3, 1 phone call, 2 emails, and I'd like to address those. I did address them with the commenters via email as well as on the phone. So the comments were regarding concerns about RF emissions in relation to the nearby horse stables, as well as some concerns as to whether there was impacts to the nearby residences. I spoke with the applicant who responded that per the electromagnetic energy compliance report, which was included in this packet, this application packet, the maximum average RF, which is the radio frequency at this site, is 8.68%. This is compliant with the FCC regulations for maximum permissible exposure limits. And the mitigation measure required here is that a caution sign be posted at the base of the pole, which the applicant confirms will be implemented. And additionally, the standards are for humans, but that does cover mammals as well. And the applicant is also here if there's further questions on this subject. Let's see, so staff analysis has concluded that the findings can be met. The applicant has reviewed and accepted all the conditions of approval. And it is recommended by the Planning and Economic Development Department that the zoning administrator grant minor design review to allow co-location of equipment on an existing telecommunications facility with new antennas, ground equipment, and lease area expansion at 1350 Bennett Valley Road. My name is Hannah Michelson, and my contact is at the bottom of the screen. You're welcome to reach out to me for further information.
Okay, so with that, thank you. Let's go to the applicant for any comments or presentation.
Hi, good morning. My name is Steve Pro. I'm with Complete Wireless Consulting. It's a SAT acquisition company, and I'm here representing AT&T on behalf of this project. Thank you, Hannah, for that great introduction and explanation of our project. This is a co-location, so we are adding antennas on an already existing tower. We're not adding any height to the tower, so we're going below the existing antennas that it's currently a Verizon cell site tower. And so we are obliged by the city's most preferred designs with this. I do want to add that with AT&T, this is a FirstNet capability site. And what FirstNet is a public-private partnership between the federal government and AT&T. It was created to equip safety agencies with advanced communication tools. These tools enable agencies to save lives, solve crimes, and maintain community safety. FirstNet's key features include enhanced coverage, capacity, connectivity, cybersecurity, and resiliency. Given the exclusive agreement with the government and AT&T, AT&T does play a vital role in supporting our first responders. So in addition to optimizing AT&T coverage, we are helping our local first responders as the FirstNet responder network is on a different network than an AT&T 4G or 5G LTE network, which this is currently on. There are 12 antennas. Out of the 12 antennas, there are 3 5G antennas. And with the 5G antennas, all of our antennas, including the 4G LTE, operate at a low to mid band level. So that's between 700 and 1900 megahertz. 5G begins at 25,000. So we're 23,000 below the megahertz. Before you hear the 5G, the millimeters, that's what that is. We're not at a high section of 5G. So I just wanted to outline that as well. And I'm happy to just answer any questions that you or the public may have.
Great, thank you. With that, let's go to public comment.
If you're attending in person, would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand. Take you one at a time, just one moment and. If you'd like to say your name for the record, go ahead. Yes, go ahead in front.
My name is Nyla Blair, and I don't want these 5G towers put up because I've heard that they've been put up more 5G towers in around the world. And when they're put up, in a couple of years, everybody around there starts getting cancer. And I also read other information about that this 5G, this electromagnetic frequency at such a high level is not safe for the human body. And so I don't want, and I live like 6 blocks away from this thing in South Park. So I do not want the towers put up.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right, and then ma'am in front.
Hi, I'm Meryl Azar, and I'm a property owner on Linwood Avenue. I'm wondering, number one, why I did not get a notice. I had to find this out through someone else via the email. So I find that to be kind of skirting the opposition. The other concerns I have is I'm wondering what documentation there is evidencing that there would be a lack of coverage if this wasn't done. I don't believe there is any evidence of that. If you look at some of the statistics, like with the IAFF, which is the International Association of Firefighters, they have a union toxologist by the name of Dr. Gunnar Heiser. And he indicates that there's a lot of neurological damage, and this is why cell towers are not able to be placed near fire departments. Because what that does is it causes a delayed response, it causes headaches, it causes memory loss, it causes ringing in the ears, and it also causes brain cancer. So I am kind of wondering why, if you look at this bill, California Bill SB 649, that was drafted by the telecommunications companies. And so when you look at bills that are drafted by companies that have vested interests, I'm wondering where the opposition and the argument is. I mean, it's pretty plain to me that if you are exposed to electromagnetic fields from cell phone towers, you're going to suffer headaches, brain cancer, all kinds of different health problems. I'm wondering exactly where this is going because 1350 Bennett Valley Road is in the county, and that's Bennett Valley Road is in front of the fairgrounds. You're showing a site that is behind the fairgrounds. Well, if it's close to Maida and Linwood near the horse stables, that's Aston Avenue, that's not Bennett Valley Road. And so there's county pockets and there's city pockets. So I need to understand if this is in the city, where exactly is it? And why are you saying Bennett Valley Road when it's Aston Avenue? And then I was looking at something else that said Santa Rosa Avenue and Colgate Avenues. So I'm not real clear on your exact site. Is it in the city? Is it in the county? Is it on Aston Avenue? Is it on Bennett Valley Road? So I have a number of concerns. Like I said, I was not notified. Why?
Thank you.
All right, let me address, I'll start by addressing.
Wait,
Well,
I-
let's
I'm
run
so
out,
sorry.
not done yet. Thank you.
And then,
What? She doesn't get to,
We'll finish public comment and then we'll have responses.
okay.
go ahead, ma'am.
My name is Orlene Perla, and I actually wrote a book about 5G. I have a chapter in here of how many terrible health problems people are having, especially after a buildup of time. I mentioned, I spoke to Hannah on the telephone yesterday. Is that you?
Yes.
Okay. I mentioned how in this book I did research on what happened in England, where the cell phone tower was erected in London, and within 10 years, all the people within 1,000-foot radius had gotten cancer, various forms of cancer. And they finally were able to take this to court and get the cell phone tower taken down. I mentioned also how the effect on animals and especially little children. And this, where the 5G antennas are going to be put up on that part of the fairground, is really close to where the animal shelters are, these little red barns. And I'm sure that will have an effect on anyone who's coming to the fair to display their livestock. Maybe after a while, they'll just stop doing that. People will stop bringing children because of this effect. Children love to go visit those animals. And furthermore, there are just so many bad examples of how this is affecting little bees, for example, no longer come around where 5G antennas are because they are being affected by it. And I know you're not even supposed to talk about the health issues. This powerful industry, high tech, has gotten all sorts of rules passed that all you can do is talk about how beautiful these antennas are or not. But I think the first and number one thing we should be concerned about is our health and the health of our children, the health of animals. And I was told by Hannah that this tower is 500 feet away from the closest housing. Well, I think 500 feet is not far enough away. As I mentioned, in London, within 1,000-foot radius, people were getting sick. And it does build up over time. Of course, your first exposure is not so terrible, but after a while, that cancer begins to develop. I believe my husband developed leukemia because he was working at Sonoma State University. The administrative building was just across from the science building. On top of the science building were all these cell phone towers. And my husband, after 10 years, developed leukemia. We don't have leukemia that's in our family for any other reason. So I truly believe this is something that we should not do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. I've read quite a few of these reports
Say your
by,
name.
my name is Sydney and I live in Windsor. I've read quite a few of these reports about the maximum permissible exposure levels, the radio frequency compliance reports. And I have a lot of concerns, especially when I hear that the power level will only be 8.68. And I really read that report very carefully. And it does sound like there are certain locations, height, for instance, where the levels could actually be over between 100% and 500% of the maximum permissible exposure levels. So they're requiring or recommending that they lower the power that is transmitted through these antennas to coordinate with Verizon, who is already using a lot of their power to put out radio frequency radiation. So I question that blanket number of 8.68. First of all, where is 8.68? How close? How many feet away? And this is so interesting. Okay, I see. I've got a few more minutes. I mean, a few more seconds left. So there are a lot of questions that, and I know you probably will approve this, or I undoubtedly approve it, because, you know, you only have certain guidelines that you have to follow. But I really think that we need to question the parts of these applications. And then, once the towers are up, no one ever goes to check. No one will come and check it to see if it's right, because you don't have the staff. It's really hard to find people who can do this. You have to have special equipment. So I don't know. There are a lot of questions. And I know what your job is. I know you're a zoning administrator, and this is not that long a thing. Usually it's in front of a whole panel of people. I appreciate this informal way of communicating, which is really cool. I appreciate the work you're doing. I know the guidelines you have to, you know, watch and stay within. And I'm glad we're having this conversation. I think it's a much bigger conversation. And I'm glad that we're all here. And I appreciate FirstNet. I appreciate what you're doing, but at the same time, we have to ask these questions. And even though I know the decision you're going to make today, and 43 seconds, I want to just say that we're very concerned about what's happening. And as we go forward, we need to ask these very complicated questions and absolutely know how they're going to turn the levels down to coordinate with the Verizon towers and how we're going to verify that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to make a public comment? All right, zoning administrator, we have no further public comments.
Great. So I've documented a variety of concerns and questions and such. So let's start with staff and then maybe go to the applicant, or go to the applicant first. Do you have a preference?
I'll just address the noticing.
Okay.
And the addressing. And I agree, it's confusing because it is 1350 Bennett Valley, and it's an 81 acre site. And so the address is, you know, at the front. That's where they receive their mail. So even, it's just a huge site. And so yes, Aston Avenue is very much in the rear of the site. The city's policy is to notice every neighbor, and as well as any absentee owner within 600 feet of the project site. And so this was a very large noticing, but if you and I would like, I can check to see, you know, your address and proximity. After, if you don't mind, I'm happy to do that with you. I have the whole list, so we can just look real quick and make sure and kind of get a sense of what happened there. But we did mail out a postcard to everyone the Friday before last. And I'm gonna turn it over to the applicant.
Yeah, so I'll just try to give you some stuff to work on in case you need it. So first, this was kind of referenced, but what are the applicable federal laws that restrict local authority over these types of projects? And what is that? What is the extent of that restriction?
Yes, so the FCC 6409 eligible facilities Regulations Act was established under the Spectrum Act of 2012. It limits the ability of local and state jurisdictions to deny to deny existing wireless facilities for modifications based on health concerns, as long as the modifications comply with the FCC regulations to ensure that the eligible facility requests are approved if they meet certain criteria to the non-substantial changes, as well as adhere to the FCC rules and regulations. To address some of the public comments going into that with the levels of 5G, I know I briefly mentioned that we are at a low and mid level. Sydney, a little bit of what you were mentioning was at a higher level. And part of the submission, we did have a third-party vendor, EBI Consulting, complete a radio frequency report to ensure that we are within the FCC limit. That's how we came up to the 8.368%. And that's at ground level. That's at the closest ground level. You're inside the lease area itself there. And so that's what that means. Of course, if you are vertical right there in front of you, it's going to be stronger. The caution sign that we are posting for that inside of the lease area on the tower itself is just that notice. They advise for engineers to be 1 foot away from the antenna. You know, radio frequency engineers definitely know what they're getting themselves into if they are taking the job. So we are just disclosing everything per FCC law. To go in a little bit addition on that, on the radio frequency report that I believe is attached to the city's website, on pages 4 going through 4 and 6, they show the adjacent stables, the adjacent buildings, and what their max value is of the radio frequency. And just looking at this, it looks like the highest level, because there are a few stables there, it seems to be at a 14.99, or excuse me, 24.82, but that's an adjacent light pole. But the stables are really 14.99 or below. In addition to that, on page 11 of 20, it shows, you know, the area and the stables below. You'll see that there are no signs that EBI Consulting, in accordance with the FCC, no signs to be added. So the further you are away from the tower, the less radio frequency you're going to get. Imagine it like a light bulb, like a flashlight. The middle of the beam is the brightest. When it expands out, it gets lighter. That's the same thing with radio frequency. So the closer you are, of course, you know, be aware, and that's why we have these reports. EBI Consulting is a, respectable third-party vendor, itself. So I don't think that the engineers who created this report or the company would subject themselves to non-accurate information. Let me just make sure I'm trying to get everybody's concerns here. Again, the 5G was mentioned. 3 of the 12 antennas are at 5G, but they are at low mid-band. Just an FYI, 5G millimeter really is benefiting to cover a short, dense area because it doesn't reach very far. That's why we need the height of the tower, a larger antenna at an LTE to reach further distances. And I hope that answers any questions, but again, I'm happy to speak on anything that comes up.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. So one thing I heard, and this is new to me, is there some sort of buffer around fire department facilities from established in any laws that you're familiar with?
So we adhere to all local city jurisdictional laws. I believe that this, and Hannah, correct me if I'm wrong, that this application went through all department heads to review it. I have worked on sites that are on fire stations. I've had fire marshals in support of the sites, and again, going with FirstNet. So I haven't heard.
Okay, so you're not familiar with any like federal law that prohibits establishing telecommunications facilities on fire department facilities?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And then there was one question about coverage. And I know that the coverage map was included in the meeting packet, but can you just describe?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the coverage map. And again, it's available online. I only have one copy, but I'm happy to give it to anyone who wants it first. And on there, it does show the before and after. I know it's kind of small, but you'll see a large circle here in orange and red that is not over here. And that shows the coverage here. And again, our goal is to enhance, AT&T customers to get the best service as possible here. Everybody has cell phones. Every kid now has a cell phone. Every car is a smart car. And again, with this site being a FirstNet, capable facility, it will benefit the city of Santa Rosa and the county of Sonoma and great deals with the high fire danger and everything that we have going on in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, thank you to the members of the public for being here. I'm sorry, the public comment is closed. I'm sure you can.
I just have a response to exactly. what you
Public
said.
comment is closed, so you can respond to him privately or the planner afterwards, but unfortunately, we are not going to
Thank you.
reopen public comment. Thank you. So yeah, I appreciate the members of the public for being here, the applicant for being here, and the planner's presentation. As we all heard, it's very, very difficult or potentially impossible for cities to deny projects like this. And doing so would likely open us up to legal action on behalf of the behemoth that is the telecommunications industry, that I do understand writes a lot of the legislation that they are subject to. So, I mean, there's also, as we saw on the coverage map, there's a large gap in this area. And part of being in a city, in an urban environment, is that you have cell coverage. And in order to achieve that cell coverage, we do need telecommunications facilities, and they do have to be located somewhere. And in this case, the applicant is co-locating, meaning that they're not creating an existing tower, which would be an additional potential eyesore. They're adding, proposing to add an antenna below the existing antenna on this facility. I do not mean to discount everybody's real lived experiences, but unfortunately, I am very limited in my ability to deny this project. So I will approve this project. Please note that this action is final unless an appeal is filed with the city clerk's office within 10 calendar days of today's decision. For this item, that date is Monday, April 14th, 2025. And I recommend contacting the project planner for more information on that process if you choose to do so.
You can do
Thank you.
fiber optic instead.
Sorry, so the public comment is closed. I'm sure you can, we can talk after, or you can talk with Hannah, the project planner, or the applicant representative is over there. And I know that the applicant representative offered to distribute some of their materials for discussion afterwards. But so with that, we'll move on to the next item, which is design review for the second story addition and other exterior changes
Can I ask a
at
question?
2970 Santa Rosa Avenue.
Can I ask a question?
You cannot, I'm sorry, we've moved on. But like I said, the project planner is available after the meeting and the applicant representative is.
Happy to step outside
So,
if anyone has any questions. Thank you.
This is a working area, just so you could please be aware if you might mind stepping outside of the building to have that conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, and then zoning administrator McKay. My name is Christina Bisla, and the project before you today is the Masamigas Mercado at 2970 Santa Rosa Avenue. The project consists of a 4,380 square foot second story addition and an exterior remodel, which has new parapets, a Roman clay exterior finish, updated storefront windows, the removal of awnings, and the replacement with wood trellis and a new. Here is a neighborhood context map, so you can see the location. The project is located towards the south end of the city on Santa Rosa Avenue. And here is an aerial view of the site. The second story addition will be over here on the right side, but most of the exterior will be updated as well. The general plan land use designation is retail and business services, and the zoning district is CG or general commercial. And here is a site plan, so you can see the work that will be done. Again, over here on the right side, we have an expansion and an addition, and then there will be a new wood trellis being added all around with outdoor seating. Here are the proposed elevations. And here you can see a side-by-side of the existing and the proposed building. Again, the existing building is of stucco and the new building will be of a Roman clay exterior. And you can see that the trellis, the wood trellis here will be replacing this blue roofing here. There will be updated windows. And here's another side by side so you can see another elevation, the northeast and southeast corner. The project is categorically exempt. It consists of an addition of less than 10,000 square feet. There are public services and facilities available to the project site, and it is not environmentally sensitive. It is also consistent with the general plan and general plan environmental impact report. There's no value for endangered, rare, or threatened species. There's no significant effects to traffic, noise, air quality, water quality, and the site is served by all existing utilities and public services. There are no unresolved issues as a result of staff review. We have not received any public comment for this project. Staff analysis has concluded that the findings can be met, and the applicant has reviewed and accepted all of the conditions of approval. Therefore, it is recommended by the Planning and Economic Development Department that the zoning administrator approve a minor design review to allow the expansion and remodel for Mas Amigas Mercado at 2970 Santa Rosa Avenue. And for any questions or comment, my contact information is on the screen. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Is the applicant present? And if so, do they wish to make any presentation or make any comments?
Do we have a Brian or yes? Yeah.
Hi, yes, this is Brian Donald here. I'm here with our owner, Salvador Cruz. We would just like to say thank you to Nor for her efforts on our project and also for Susie. They've helped us through this process. Also want to say we appreciate the City of Santa Rosa's plans and efforts to improve Santa Rosa Avenue, and we look forward to bringing this market to Santa Rosa.
Great, thank you. With that, let's go to public comment.
If you're attending in person and would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand. ZA McKay, we have no public comments.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is a really good project. I really appreciate the investment the applicant is making in this property. Oftentimes on Santa Rosa Avenue, like the applicant referenced, we see some abandoned buildings and dilapidated structures and such. So I really appreciate this renovation. I'm not super clear on exactly what the Mercado will serve, but I'm very confident that it will be very well received. I did have a question about parking. The plan set references a minor use permit request for a parking reduction. Does the applicant need a parking reduction?
They have a agreement with a recorded parking agreement with the property to the north. It's a shared parking easement basically. So they access each other's parking. And with that, there's adequate parking for the addition. Traffic has reviewed the project and has no issues.
Okay, so they meet the minimum parking requirement without a reduction?
Mhm.
Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, I said all my comments for the most part. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, just again, expressing appreciation for the applicant, for being here and for this investment in the property. So I will approve this project. Please note this action is final unless an appeal is filed with the city clerk's office within 10 calendar days. For this item, that date is Monday, April 14th, 2025. Moving on to item 4, hillside development permit for a new deck at 3591 Black Hawk Circle. Can we have a staff report, please?
Thank you, zoning administrator McKay. Let me just pull up the presentation here. All right. There we go. Thank you. All right, so this is for a deck that is within a hillside residential property. The single family residences have already been built. The applicant is proposing a 600 square foot wood deck at the rear of the residence. This is an aerial view of the residential property, and I'll kind of show in a highlighted area of where the deck is going to be proposed, but it is detached from the single family dwelling. This is a neighborhood aerial view. It is a little bit dated. The properties directly to the west here have been redeveloped, so there are single family dwellings there currently. The property directly to the east, though, is still not developed. The zoning district is planned development for residential developments, and the general plan land use designation is low density residential. So this is the site plan that they provided. As you can see here, where my cursor is, this is the existing dwelling, and then there's proposed like a little strip of lawn, a little patio area, and then we have the deck here highlighted in red. And these are the elevations that the applicant provided. And it was found that this project is categorically exempt because it involves construction of a small structure. There are no unresolved issues as a result of staff review. There was a comment that was provided to me by a nearby neighbor, just kind of concerned about privacy as their deck seems to be in direct view of their yard. And one of the conditions of approval that I have proposed is in regards to providing some more vegetative screening, some landscaping, maybe preferably some larger trees just along the property line there, just to provide a little bit extra screening and for privacy with those neighbors. The applicant did let me know the other day, though, that they do have some trees, some crepe myrtles recently planted there. But I do think that after review, just because of the size of crepe myrtles don't tend to always be very large, and they don't always provide the best screening, I guess, because there are those winter months too, where there's, they're pretty barren during the winter time. So I think it would just be good to just have, some larger trees there that can maybe create just more of a constant screening there, or even, some sort of tall, I think it's the cypress trees that are also a suggestion too. We can kind of play around with that of what you guys would like to go in there for landscaping. And the applicant is also present too, if they want to respond to the comments. One of the comments, I guess I should say, which I do believe was forwarded to you, was just about stepping, why that wasn't proposed for the deck there. But overall, it was found to be in compliance with our zoning code. Staff can make the required findings, and it is recommended by the Planning and Economic Development Department that the zoning administrator approve the resolution for a minor hillside development permit to allow for the new wood deck at 3591 Blackhawk Circle. My contact information is on the screen here if you have any questions. And again, the applicant is here in person. I'm not sure if you did see the photos for the crepe myrtles there, but that's the property that kind of shows a screening of where the deck is going to be. And I know it's hard to see, but this was the photo that was provided. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, would the applicant like to make any presentation or comments?
I have a 1-minute version. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Tom Zeleny. I'm here with my contractor here. I have a 1-minute version and a 5-minute version, but I think I should probably just do the quick 1-minute version. That the crepe myrtles, that's actually independent of the deck. When they built that house, it was kind of like, whoa, they're like right there on top of us. And I totally understand where the developer is coming from. It was a developer who submitted the comment, the house is for sale, it's on the market. Last thing I want to do is mess with the sale of this house. But those crepe myrtles I planted are independent of the deck. That's just between our house and their house. Because it's kind of the nature of the beast in Fountain Grove. There's so many houses on hillside, everybody sees everybody else's backyard. And when they developed a lot to the east that you showed, they're going to see right into my backyard. It's kind of the nature of things. So those crepe myrtles are independent of the deck. When we build the deck, we'll plant other trees. The advantage there was because we have a slope already. So the bottom of the crepe myrtle is already 6 feet high at the same level with the fence. So they're shorter trees, but they'll help block and create privacy just between our houses. Now for the deck, we can obviously do something bigger. There's not as much of a slope in between, so we can pick some other sort of tree, but totally understand where he's coming from, and we want to do what we can to help him sell the house.
Great, thank you. Let's go to public comment then.
If you're attending in person, would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand. All right, sir, just one moment while I prepare the timer. Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Phil Wright. I'm the adjacent property owner, and we built a house there for sale. It's finished, and we just made a suggestion. I mean, I've been in this business for a long, long time, and we don't want to stop anyone from building decks and that sort of thing. We made a suggestion of being able to step the deck down to kind of the contours versus having a 8 or 9 foot, elevation going straight out. The other thing that I don't understand, and I can't tell where the deck is in relationship to the house. What I'm concerned with was this is a picture that they sent in of our deck, and we could put some screening up on the deck, but it's below that. Our whole yard is out here, and it appeared by this little thing that I was sent that I can't read. Even with a magnifying glass, I couldn't read it, as to where this is in relationship to our house. It appears that it's out here. But when I look at this picture, they've got some screening here, so I can't tell where the deck, how far the deck is down the hill. My assumption is that it would be out here looking directly down on the backyard, and it's a large backyard. Several people have talked about putting swimming pools there, and it would just at 8 or 9 feet high, it'd just be a direct view, and it kind of doesn't give each owner any privacy at all. Now we can take and add a whole bunch of trees that are going to grow up and block everybody's view. That isn't the intent. We want to be good neighbors, but we just want some consideration of a lot of the decks in Fountain Grove are stepped down. In other words, you have coming off the house, you have a deck, and then as the contours go down, you step it down the hill. And that was just a suggestion to consider, but I mean, I know they have the right to build it. There's a homeowners association up there that normally critiques this kind of stuff, and I didn't know whether they had already been through that process because we didn't get any notice of that either. Or whether or not that's even required, I don't know. This is the only house that we're building up there. And had I known this earlier, I would have planted some trees early on, but you know, it is what it is. So we're just looking for alternatives and to see if there's any plot map that shows the house versus the relationship to our house, because it didn't show it on your aerial. I know it's an older map. So that's my only comment. I wish them well, and I think it's a nice addition. It's just if it could be stepped down or some more planting on their side so that there wouldn't be this visual right down if somebody was to build a swimming pool there.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I can explain a little bit.
Yeah, let's just formally close the public comment first. Any other comments? Okay, I'll close public comment, and then yes, if you'd like to respond.
Okay, on the height of the deck, we have a daughter who has significant mental and physical disabilities. And she'll never be on her own. She's gonna be with us as long as we live. And she's having some neurological issues that affect balance, and anything like stairs or ramps or something like that cause her difficulty. We're actually, seeing neurologists down at Stanford Hospital. So if we were to move the deck down, we'd have to have stairs going down, and that would not make it, it would make it very difficult for her to access that. So that's why it's at the level that it is. But, I can't wait till he sells the house, because if the neighbors are like the neighbors we have now, we're gonna be back here asking for a gate in between that fence so we don't have to walk around the block and hang out. But totally understand his concerns. I'll plant something bigger than crepe myrtle, because, until we know who that is, we want to put something in between our respective decks to shield that. I don't know if they have jumbo crepe myrtles or something, but while we're back there, we can certainly put something bigger in there to kind of shield that off. And I hope I get to go swimming over there at their pool.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for being here. Thank you for being here, and thanks to staff for the presentation. Yeah, I think generally I agree with the conditions. I don't know if you would be willing to commit to a type of vegetation or a number of trees or something of that sort, but as written, it says trees and landscaping shall be planted in order to minimize the visual prominence of the proposed deck. I mean, it seems kind of subjective, and I prefer for conditions to be relatively a little bit more enforceable, I guess. And I don't doubt that you have every intention of minimizing the visual prominence, but I'm not sure if you have any ideas or suggestions for, is it a tree for sure?
It'll definitely be a tree.
Okay.
For sure. I just don't know what variety. I'd have to kind of research.
Right.
I've already got 5 crepe myrtles. I don't know if I want to do any more crepe myrtles, but
Right.
at the same time, I got to be a little worried about, I wasn't here in 2017, but I know about now defensible space and hardening. And I just got to make sure, like, I know eucalyptus would be bad, for example.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I can certainly commit to at least one tree and try to make it bigger, because from the deck to the deck, the crepe myrtles there are only between the houses. So from deck to deck, I can put a tree in between the 2 decks. If that's specific enough, that the tree's got to have to be at least 8 or 9 feet tall. I mean, I can pour a miracle grow as quickly as I can. I'm going to start with something big. And because he needs to sell his house, and I totally understand where he's coming from.
Can I make a suggestion that maybe adding to that condition upon submittal of, because it needs to go through the building permit process, maybe upon submittal of that building permit, some sort of landscape plan showing the proposed trees.
Yeah. We could actually get a bigger tree in the back. Take down that.
Add some sort of
get it in
language there.
Yeah, I think also I would say trees that have the potential to grow into heritage trees. would that be, and there's a species list of heritage trees that I'm sure would be suitable. The problem with conditioning just any sorts of trees is you could in theory plant the tree, and then if you don't need a permit to remove the tree, you could just remove it if you want, which like I said, I don't doubt your sincerity in trying to minimize the visual prominence of the deck, and I appreciate the collaboration here. But there's situations where trees get required, and then if a permit isn't required to remove it, they just get removed, which is a costly endeavor for nefarious actors.
Can the condition be written that it says that the tree shall not be removed?
Yes, unfortunately, if the tree was proposed for removal, we would have to dig up this file to know that that tree was conditioned to not be removed. So I think my preference is at least one tree that has the potential to grow into a heritage tree and landscaping of some,
Yeah, we're gonna landscape that whole area.
yeah, shall be planted in order to minimize.
Is a heritage tree a type of tree or an age of tree?
There's a list of species.
I could forward that to you.
Yeah, there's like 12 or so different species. And then we can also just say, or otherwise determined by staff. So if there's, for some reason, the list of species doesn't work for you, we can still give you some leeway.
And there's a local code that says you can't remove heritage trees without a permit?
Yes.
Okay.
And they do have to be a certain size to get into that category, which is why we typically have the language of grow into a heritage tree. Because a tiny redwood sapling is not a heritage tree.
Okay, that's fine. Does that sound good?
Yeah, no, it all sounds good. I didn't realize, that the reason for the flat deck. So I mean, that's certainly understandable. And whether we put it in or who we sell to, we can add more trees on the other side too. So it's,
Okay, good.
we'll work with you on that.
Okay, cool. So seeing an approval of that modification to the condition, I will approve the project as conditioned with the modified condition. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks, good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, moving on to item 5, a minor conditional use permit for a new fence at 2115 Slater.
Get you both. There you go.
All right, last but not least. So this is for a new residential fence at 2115 Slater Street. The applicant is proposing a 6-foot tall wood fence. The property is a corner side property. The fence will be proposed, it will be set back at least 4 feet from the sidewalk, giving it a little bit more of a space buffer between, the sidewalk and the property. The applicant's also proposing landscaping in front of the fence to kind of minimize its visual prominence. And there is an existing 4-foot chain link fence that is proposed to be removed or has been removed. This is the aerial of the site. And I'll have my site plan out that highlights where the fence is going to be specifically. This is a neighborhood context. As you can see, it's in a predominantly residential area. The zoning district is planned development for residential developments, and the general plan land use designation is low density residential. This is the site plan, and I've highlighted here where the fence is proposed to be. And it has, the applicant did show that it will be outside of the vision triangle. This is a proposed elevation. It will be 5 feet of solid wood boards, and then the last foot is a decorative piece that's a little bit more open. The project has been found to be categorically exempt from CEQA because it involves the addition of a small accessory structure. There have been no unresolved issues. Staff can conclude that the findings can be met, and no comments were provided to staff. No public comments, I should say. And it is recommended by the Planning and Economic Development Department that the zoning administrator approve a resolution for a minor conditional use permit for the wood fence that is being constructed within the corner side setback at 2115 Slater Street. And my my contact information is on the screen here if you have any questions, and I do have the applicant present if you have any questions for the applicant.
Great, thank you. Would the applicant like to make any comments or presentation?
Yeah, I'm Brad Ebner, and I really appreciate the planning staff working with me on this. This is an improvement I've been intending to make ever since I moved into the home 7 years ago. I finally have it together to move forward, so appreciate you working with me on this. I have received an encroachment permit to move the driveway approach to the location that's indicated on this application. So I think I'm all set to go if this moves forward. So thanks very much.
Great, thank you for being here. Public comment?
If you're attending in person would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand. Public comment, there are no public comments.
Great, thank you. Thank you for this project, the chain link, especially in this neighborhood. This is going to be a huge improvement. Good plan set, good presentation, maintaining, close the public comment, maintaining the vision triangle for pedestrian and vehicular safety is great. Good materials, and appreciate this investment. So I will approve that project. Please note this action is final unless an appeal is filed with the city clerk's office within 10 calendar days, which is Monday, April 14th, 2025. And that is our final item. So with that, we will adjourn. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.